Comics are everywhere these days, and everyone wants to get into them. But how do you know which ones are good and which ones are bad? There's an easy answer to that. I tell you which are good and bad. Hello, this is Nick Gazin. I'm Vice's art editor and comics expert. I have a list of the top 10 comics of all time, and I'm going to share them with you. I am right, and you can argue all you wish, but you'll just keep being wrong, and I'll keep being Nick Gazin, the rightest man you ever met. Now, here's this list. The 10th comic on our list is Gary Panter's Jimbo. It's sort of like a futuristic dystopian Los Angeles where he's a baby-faced punk guy with the body of a muscular man. Gary Panter is one of the foremost experimental comics makers of all time. A good portion of what's going on in alternative comics right now is based on the things that he pioneered. So that's Jimbo. Number 9 is Raw magazine. It was in Raw that Art Spiegelman first serialized his Pulitzer Prize-winning comic Mouse. Here's Mouse appearing in Raw as a little tip-in booklet. Raw's oversized format made it clear that this was not just something for children or for dummies or for pervs. And you know it's art because it's big and it's expensive. Raw. So that's number 9. Number 8, Love and Rockets by the Brothers Hernandez. Back when Love and Rockets started, a lot of the alternative comics were funny animals, like the Ninja Turtles, Omaha the Cat Dancer, which is about a cat woman, like a woman cat, anthropomorphic cat lady who's an exotic dancer. They were the only guys doing something this real at that time. People who were in comics who were adults would talk about getting out of comics. Yeah, I was really into comics as a child, and then I discovered girls, and I was like, whoop, goodbye comics. But then I discovered the Love and Rockets guys, and I was like, back into comics. That was how a lot of people got back into doing comics for adults. The 7th most important comic of all time is Hate. Hate is drawn by Peter Bagg, who went to SVA but dropped out. Despite the fact that everyone looks like these little bug-eyed people, they feel incredibly real. There are a lot of comics about white guys in their 20s out there, and a lot of them are really self-indulgent and boring, but Hate is the greatest. I mean, it's not the greatest, it's number 7. It's the 7th greatest. The 6th most important comic of all time are Carl Barks's Uncle Scrooge comics. These are the comics that DuckTales was based on if you were a child of the 80s and remember that cartoon show. If you remember the scene from Indiana Jones where a big boulder comes and almost rolls over Harrison Ford, it was actually taken from this very book. For many years, Carl Barks labored in anonymity. His name wouldn't be on the comics in these Disney things that were coming out, but people would know that his stuff was by him because his stuff was so much better than everyone else. He's just great. He's so good. I'm sorry, I'm turning into a Steve Brule just talking about how much I love these comics. Sorry. Number 5 on my list is Dan Clowes' 8-Ball series. Most famously, 8-Ball gave birth to Ghost World. It also got turned into a movie. There's also Art School Confidential. There's also a movie. I can't have sex with you anymore. I've got to channel all that energy into my pottery. I hate my mother. I think I'll paint my room black. I used to live with a woman here who looked exactly like this and had to channel all her energy into her pottery. And she hated her mother. What a fun time that was. Maybe I'm going on too long. I'm getting a little sleepy, I can't help it. Number 4 is everything Our Crumb ever did. He was the first real alternative cartoonist. It wasn't just funny animals and superheroes. It was autobiographical stories about, existential boredom, everything. I feel like a lot of people try to hide who they really are, and Our Crumb's whole thing is that he confronts how awful a person he really is in his work. Some people have accused him of misogyny. I don't think he's denied it. I think it's acceptable in his comics because he confronts it. He likes to get piggyback rides from giant women. The 3rd most important comics of all time are Jack Kirby's comics that he did for Marvel. He basically created the look and tone of comics including the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, Thor, Iron Man, the Hulk, Captain America, the X-Men. It goes on. Jack Kirby drew with this intense power, thick, beautiful lines, things jumping out of the viewer. Look at all these pretty things happening in the sky behind this ghost genius. With Marvel, the artist would draw a whole comic with little areas where people can talk, and Stan Lee would come in and write the dialogue. Stan Lee said that he felt like he was giving the artists creative freedom. I see it more as Stan Lee taking credit for other people's creative work. Kirby's king, Stan Lee drools. Number 2, DC Comics printed before 1962. There's a comic about Jimmy Olsen, Superman's best pal. In this one, Jimmy Olsen has magical powers and has turned his boss into a tiger. Lois Lane had adventures. Here she is having a duel with Superman's high school girlfriend. These comics were meant for children. Trying to make superheroes adult right now in the movies is stupid. But there's still a bunch of grown-ups dressed in colorful costumes fighting other grown-ups in colorful costumes. So, as a comics expert, if you watch those movies, you're an idiot. The best comic of all time is an objective fact, Mad Magazine. Especially the first 23 issues when it was a colorful comic book. There's something about them that really feels like punk. You would get in trouble for having this in school and teachers would take it away from you. And so I guess a bunch of moms or whoever got together and created the Comics Code Authority. And it means that there's no thing in the comic that's gonna turn your kids gay or criminal, or worse. With issue 24, by being a magazine, they were no longer subject to the Comics Code Authority rule, but also they could get wider distribution into newsstands and grocery stores and stuff like that. Mad Magazine's sense of humor, it's like Saturday Night Live, that's The Simpsons, it's everything now. It taught you, don't trust anybody, especially us. It was so good. Oh, I love you, Mad Magazine. You were the best. Well, I've been Nick Gazin, and this is my list of the top 10 comics of all time. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you disagree with me, remember, you're wrong, and I'm right.